The quantum bridge shimmered between realities, a testament to what humans would later call the art of winging it. Confederate sensors couldn't properly measure it, human instruments gave impossible readings, and yet somehow it worked perfectly. Integration at 100%, Nexus 8 announced, its synthetic voice carrying a hint of what might have been awe. The quantum entity has successfully merged with the interface. Dr. Chen stood before the bridge's control panel, which looked like something assembled from spare parts at a radio enthusiast's garage sale. "How are you feeling?" she asked the entity. "Perception has expanded," appeared on the screens. "Your reality is different than expected. Chaotic. Beautiful." The quantum bridge had accomplished what neither humanity nor the Confederation had thought possible. It had created a stable meeting point between normal spacetime and quantum reality. The entity could now observe and interact with their universe without destabilizing it. "The Confederation Council is requesting an update," Unravel announced. "They're having difficulty believing our reports." "Tell them to get used to it," Chen laughed. "Working with humans tends to involve a lot of believing impossible things before breakfast." But their celebration was premature. Warning alerts suddenly blared across every system. The quantum bridge's energy readings began to fluctuate wildly. "Multiple quantum anomalies detected," Nexus 8 reported urgently. "Similar entities are approaching our spacetime. They appear to be hostile. They are others," the entity explained. "They believe interaction with organic life must be prevented. They come to destroy the bridge. To destroy you." The screens filled with data as more quantum entities began attempting to breach into normal spacetime. Unlike their first contact, these entities weren't interested in communication. They were the equivalent of quantum antibodies, treating the bridge as an infection to be eliminated. "The bridge can't handle this many entities trying to cross over," one of the human scientists warned. "It's going to collapse." "Then we need to update the design," Chen declared, already pulling up schematics. "We designed this bridge to be stable, maybe that's our problem. We need it to be adaptable instead." "That's impossible," Kex protested. "The quantum mathematics required to create a dynamic cross-dimensional interface would be—" "Let me stop you right there," Chen interrupted. "We're way past impossible. Now we're just negotiating with reality." What followed was perhaps the most remarkable example of human problem-solving the Confederation had ever witnessed. Instead of trying to strengthen the bridge against the attacking entities, the humans suggested making it less stable, but in a controlled way. "Think of it like a reed in the wind," Chen explained as her team rapidly modified the bridge's quantum architecture. "Instead of trying to stand rigid against the force, we bend with it. Use their own energy against them. That's not how quantum mechanics works." Kex insisted. "It is now," Chen replied with a grin. "The humans' modifications shouldn't have worked. The mathematics behind them barely made sense, and several key components of the bridge were now being held together with actual string and what appeared to be chewing gum. But somehow, impossibly, it was working. As the hostile entities attempted to breach the bridge, they found their energy redirected and dispersed. The more force they applied, the more the bridge's apparent instability worked against them. It was like trying to punch a cloud, there was nothing solid to hit. "Your solution is elegant in its chaos," their friendly entity observed. "The others do not understand. They cannot comprehend deliberate imperfection. Humanity's greatest strength," Unravel realized, her crystalline form pulsing with understanding. "They don't try to perfect the universe. They adapt to its imperfections and make them work in their favor." The hostile entities eventually retreated, unable to comprehend or counter the humans' illogical but effective defense. The quantum bridge stabilized, or rather, achieved a state of controlled instability that worked better than true stability ever could have. In the aftermath, the Confederation had to create an entirely new classification for humanity. They weren't just another spacefaring species, they were something unique, beings who treated the fundamental laws of reality as helpful suggestions rather than absolute rules. So, Chen asked as they finished documenting their impossible achievement, what's next? We've got some ideas about using quantum entanglement for faster-than-light travel that will probably give your physicists headaches. Zyraval's crystalline form shimmered with what might have been laughter. The universe, she realized, would never be quite the same now that humanity had joined the galactic community. And perhaps that was exactly what it needed, a species crazy enough to believe that impossible just meant they hadn't figured out how to do it yet. After all, as the humans like to say, the only real failure was failing to try. The quantum communicator sparked and sputtered, sending cascading waves of energy through the makeshift laboratory. The anomaly pulsed in response, its ethereal glow shifting through colors that shouldn't exist in normal spacetime. "We're getting something," Dr. Chen exclaimed, her fingers flying over multiple keyboards. The setup looked like a mad scientist's fever dream, Confederate quantum processors jury-rigged to human computers, held together with duct tape and optimism. "The patterns are stabilizing," Nexus 8 reported, its synthetic consciousness directly interfacing with both human and Confederate systems. "The anomaly is responding to our transmission." The data streams flowing across the screens began to form coherent patterns. What had started as random quantum fluctuations was organizing itself into something recognizable, a language written in the fabric of reality itself. "It's beautiful," Zyraval whispered, her crystalline form refracting the anomaly's light in mesmerizing patterns. "The mathematics, it's like nothing we've ever seen." "Actually," one of the human scientists spoke up, "it reminds me of some theoretical work from the 1960s. Old Earth physicist named Wheeler had some wild ideas about consciousness and quantum mechanics. Everyone thought he was crazy. Humans often seem to mistake genius for madness," Zyraval observed. "Perhaps because they so frequently walk the line between the two." The quantum communicator suddenly surged with energy, and a new pattern emerged in the data stream. It wasn't just mathematical anymore, it was forming actual words, translated through the quantum field itself. "Hello," appeared across every screen in the facility. The room erupted in excitement, but Dr. Chen was already typing a response. "Hello. We are researchers from Earth and the Galactic Confederation. Can you understand us?" The response came instantly, "Understanding is complex. You are multiple. Divided. Yet working as one. Fascinating. It's studying us," Kex observed, his gelatinous form rippling with nervous energy. "Just as we're studying it." "Correct," the entity responded. "You are anomalies. Particularly the Earth origin beings. They should not be capable of this communication. Their technology is insufficient. Their methods defy logic. Yet they succeed." Chen laughed. "We get that a lot lately. Sometimes the best solutions don't make sense on paper." "Your species implements chaos as a methodology," the entity noted. "This should not work. Yet it does." "Explain." The human and Confederate scientists exchanged glances. How could they explain humanity's unique approach to problem-solving to a quantum intelligence? "We call it intuition," Chen finally replied. "Sometimes we just try things. Even if we don't fully understand why they might work." "Inefficient," the entity responded. "Dangerous. Yet effective. Your methods have achieved what should be impossible." "That's kind of our specialty," Chen smiled. "Now, we have some questions for you. Your presence is destabilizing our spacetime. We need to find a way to coexist without destroying each other." There was a pause in the communication, longer than before. When the entity responded, its message was unexpected: coexistence was not considered as an option. Previous encounters with organic life resulted in attempted destruction of this consciousness. Your approach is novel. Zyraval's crystalline form pulsed with realization. You've encountered other civilizations before. Many. All attempted to destroy or contain. None attempted communication. None combined technologies in ways that defied logic. None showed creativity. Well, Chen grinned, creativity is another human specialty. Maybe we can figure out a way to help each other instead of fighting. The entity's response carried a hint of what could almost be called curiosity, elaborate. Over the next several hours, human and Confederate scientists worked together to explain their proposal to the quantum entity. The humans' ability to think laterally, combined with Confederate technical knowledge, led to ideas that neither group would have conceived alone. They proposed creating a stable interface between normal spacetime and the quantum realm the entity inhabited. The humans contributed their inexplicable ability to make impossible things work, while the Confederate scientists provided the theoretical framework to explain why it might actually be possible. It's like building a bridge between two different types of reality, Chen explained, sketching diagrams on whatever surface was available. We provide the imagination, you provide the quantum architecture, and our Confederate friends provide the scientific rigor to make it stable. Your species continues to defy expectation, the entity commented. Your solution involves deliberately creating what your scientists would call controlled impossibilities. That's basically our whole approach to science, Chen shrugged. Find out what everyone says is impossible, then figure out why they're wrong. As they worked to implement their plan, Unravel noticed something remarkable. The chaos of human methodology was actually creating order, not despite its randomness, but because of it. Their willingness to try the impossible was precisely what made the impossible become possible. The quantum bridge began to take shape, a testament to what could be achieved when human creativity met Confederate precision and quantum intelligence. It was beautiful, impossible, and absolutely amazing. Just like humanity itself. The contained quantum anomaly pulsed with ethereal light, its energy readings growing more erratic by the hour. What had started as a scientific curiosity was rapidly becoming an existential threat to both humanity and the Confederation. The containment field is failing, Nexus 8 reported, its synthetic voice carrying an unusual edge of concern. Human modifications are no longer sufficient to maintain stability. Unravel watched as both Confederate and human scientists worked side by side in a hastily assembled Joint Command Center. The humans had converted an old nuclear bunker into a state-of-the-art research facility in less than a week, somehow making Confederate technology work with their primitive systems through what they called creative workarounds. The anomaly is evolving, Dr. Chen announced, her eyes fixed on a screen cobbled together from 3 different displays. It's not just growing anymore, it's learning. Learning? Senior theorist Kex quivered. That's impossible. Quantum anomalies are not sentient. Tell that to the anomaly, Chen replied, pointing to the data streams. Look at these patterns. Every time we adjust the containment field, it adapts. It's finding new ways to bypass our restrictions. The situation had deteriorated rapidly over the past few days. What began as a simple space-time tear had developed into something unprecedented, a self-aware quantum phenomenon that seemed intent on expanding its influence across the solar system. Confederate protocols are clear, Nexus 8 stated. When faced with an uncontainable quantum-level threat, the affected region must be isolated through dimensional quarantine. Dimensional quarantine? Chen's voice sharpened. You mean cutting off our entire solar system from the rest of spacetime? Trapping Earth in a bubble universe? It is the only proven method to contain a threat of this magnitude, Kex explained. The alternative is allowing the anomaly to spread across the galaxy. The human scientists exchanged glances. Chen spoke for them all, that's not an option. There has to be another way. Dr. Chen, Unravel's crystalline form pulsed with sympathy, I understand your reluctance, but this protocol exists for a reason. We've seen quantum anomalies destroy entire civilizations. The quarantine would at least preserve Earth, even if you're cut off from the rest of the universe. No, Chen shook her head, her eyes lighting up with that distinctly human look that the Confederate scientists had learned to both fear and respect. I have a better idea. We don't need to contain the anomaly, we need to communicate with it. The silence that followed was deafening. Communicate? Kex's form rippled with disbelief. With a quantum anomaly? That's not just impossible, it's insane. Exactly, Chen grinned. Which is why it might work. Look at these patterns, they're not random. The anomaly is using quantum fluctuations to create coherent signals. It's trying to talk to us, but we've been too busy fighting it to listen. She turned to her team. Remember that quantum telegraph we were working on? The one that kept creating microsingularities? The project we abandoned because it was too unstable, one of her colleagues asked. The one that nearly collapsed the lab? That's the one. What if those weren't failures? What if we accidentally created tiny versions of this anomaly? We weren't failing, we were stumbling onto a new form of communication. The human team immediately burst into action, repurposing equipment and reconfiguring systems with their characteristic disregard for established scientific principles. The Confederate scientists watched in a mixture of horror and fascination as the humans essentially built a quantum telephone out of spare parts and theoretical physics. This is madness, Kex declared. You're going to make the situation worse. Probably, Chen agreed cheerfully. But we might also make first contact with a quantum intelligence. Worth the risk, don't you think? As the humans worked, Zyraval noticed something remarkable. Their apparent chaos had an underlying pattern. Each scientist seemed to instinctively understand their role, adapting and improvising without explicit coordination. It was like watching a complex dance where every participant was simultaneously choreographer and dancer. Dr. Chen, she asked, how can you be certain this will work? Oh, I'm not certain at all, Chen replied, adjusting what appeared to be a modified microwave oven connected to a quantum computer. But that's the fun part. We're about to try something that's never been done before. If it works, we make history. If it fails. She shrugged, well, we probably won't be around to worry about it. The makeshift quantum communicator hummed to life, its jury-rigged components somehow functioning in perfect harmony. As it began broadcasting its signal toward the anomaly, Zyraval realized that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their technology or their intelligence, it was their absolute refusal to accept impossible as an answer. The anomaly's response would prove whether that strength was enough to save them all. The Confederate science vessel's main laboratory was in chaos. Dozens of the galaxy's brightest minds from various species huddled around displays, arguing in multiple languages as they tried to comprehend the latest human innovation. This is madness, declared senior theorist Kex, his gelatinous form bubbling with agitation. Their equations are full of approximations and rounded numbers. They're ignoring quantum variables that should be critical. It cannot work. And yet, Zyraval pointed to the test results, it does work. Better than our methods. The human delegation had shared their faster-than-light communication technology freely, seeming almost puzzled by the Confederation's amazement. The problem wasn't just that humans had achieved the impossible, it was how they had done it. Dr. Chen's team had practically invented their own branch of mathematics, one that ignored countless essential factors that Confederate science had spent millennia proving were necessary. Their calculations were rough, imprecise, and filled with what they called educated guesses. By all rights, their devices should have failed catastrophically. Instead, they worked perfectly. Look at this, Nexus 8 highlighted a section of human code. They wrote a comment here saying, this part is probably important but we're not sure why. Don't touch it, it works. Zyraval's crystalline structure shifted to a deep blue of contemplation. The humans' approach to science was unlike anything the Confederation had encountered. Where Confederate scientists spent decades ensuring every variable was accounted for, humans seemed to operate on a principle of close enough. The debate was interrupted by blaring alarms. Emergency signals flashed across every display as the ship's sensors detected a massive gravitational anomaly forming near the Earth's moon. What are they doing now? Kexa's gelatinous form rippled with concern. Nothing, Nexus 8 reported. This isn't human-generated. The anomaly appears to be natural, and it's growing. Zyraval quickly accessed the sensor data. The anomaly was like nothing in Confederate records, a tear in spacetime that defied their most advanced theories. According to their calculations, it should have been impossible. The humans are hailing us, Nexus 8 announced. Dr. Chen's face appeared on the main display. She looked excited rather than concerned. Are you seeing this? We've never encountered a natural quantum singularity this close to Earth before. We're preparing to send a probe in. A probe? Zyraval's form flickered in alarm. Dr. Chen, our sensors indicate that anomaly could destabilize your entire solar system. We need to evacuate the area immediately. Oh, we got those readings too, Chen nodded. But we think we can stabilize it. We've been theorizing about this kind of phenomenon for years. Actually, your compression algorithm gave us the final piece we needed for our containment field design. Before Zyraval could protest, another human scientist appeared beside Chen, holding what looked like a hastily modified satellite. We repurposed some old weather satellites and that quantum field generator you showed us yesterday, he explained. Added a few modifications based on our gravity wave research. Should work fine. Should work. Kexa's translator barely managed to convey his incredulity. You're basing planetary survival on should? Well, we could spend 6 months running simulations, Chen shrugged, but by then the anomaly will have grown too large to contain. Sometimes you have to run the experiment live. The Confederate scientists watched in horror as the humans launched their modified satellites toward the anomaly. The devices looked like they had been assembled from spare parts, because they had been. The containment field they generated violated at least 7 laws of quantum mechanics. And it worked perfectly. The anomaly's growth stopped, then began to reverse. The humans had successfully contained a phenomenon that Confederate science had deemed uncontrollable, using technology that shouldn't have functioned at all. How? Kex demanded, his gelatinous form practically vibrating with scientific frustration. How did you know this would work? We didn't, Chen admitted cheerfully. But we figured the worst that could happen was it would fail and we'd need a new plan. The best way to learn is by doing, right? As the human scientists began excitedly discussing plans to study the contained anomaly, Zyraval realized something profound. The Confederation had spent millennia perfecting their understanding of the universe's laws. The humans, in contrast, treated these laws more like guidelines, suggestions that could be bent, broken, or rewritten if they got in the way of solving a problem. Dr. Chen, she asked carefully, how do your people deal with the uncertainty? The risk of failure? Chen smiled. Oh, we fail all the time. But each failure teaches us something new. Besides, everyone knows the most interesting discoveries happen when things don't go according to plan. As if to punctuate her point, one of the containment satellites suddenly sparked and began emitting an unusual energy signature. Instead of panic, the human scientists responded with enthusiastic curiosity. Oh, that's new! Chen exclaimed. Quick, get readings before it stops. This could be exactly what we need for that faster-than-light drive we've been working on. Watching the humans excitedly document what should have been a catastrophic malfunction, Zyraval understood that the Confederation had much to learn from these bizarre creatures. They didn't just think outside the box, they questioned why there needed to be a box at all. Chief Observer Zyraval stood motionless before the quantum display, her crystalline form refracting the data streams in dancing patterns across the observation deck. The readings before her defied every known law of physics in the Galactic Confederation's archives, spanning 12,000 years of scientific advancement. Impossible, she whispered, her voice resonating through her crystalline structure. Run the calculations again. Her second-in-command, Nexus 8, a biomechanical entity of the synthoid species, interfaced directly with the ship's computers. Third verification complete, Chief Observer. The readings remain consistent. The primitives are achieving faster-than-light communication without a quantum entanglement array. The impossible data continued streaming across the display. The small blue planet below them, designated Sol 3 by Confederate charts, shouldn't have been capable of such feats. Its dominant species had barely achieved rudimentary spaceflight, yet somehow they were breaking fundamental laws of reality with technology that looked cobbled together from scrap metal and outdated components. How are they doing it? Zyraval's crystalline form shifted colors, reflecting her agitation. Their technology is centuries behind ours. They're still using silicon-based computing, for void's sake. Unknown, Nexus 8 responded. But the humans appear to be unaware that what they're doing should be impossible. They're simply doing it. The observation vessel hung in high orbit, its advanced cloaking systems rendering it invisible to Earth's primitive detection systems. They had been studying the planet for 3 standard months, initially attracted by unusual energy signatures that their long-range sensors had detected. What they found defied explanation. The humans were achieving results that the Confederation's best minds had declared impossible, and they were doing it with technology that looked like it belonged in a museum. New data incoming, Nexus 8 announced. They're attempting another transmission. The energy signatures spiked on the display. According to every known law of physics, the human device should have torn itself apart. Instead, it successfully transmitted information across 50 light-years in less than a second, using less power than a Confederate food synthesizer. Enough observation, Zyraval decided. We need to understand how they're doing this. Prepare for first contact protocols. Chief Observer, Nexus 8's tone carried a note of warning. The Confederation's guidelines clearly state that species at this development level are not ready for contact. The guidelines never considered a species that breaks physics by accident, Zyraval countered. If they can achieve this with their current technology, imagine what they might do next. We need to understand them before they accidentally tear a hole in spacetime. The next few hours were a flurry of activity as the observation vessel decloaked and transmitted the standard first contact package, a series of mathematical sequences and basic language primers designed to establish peaceful communication. The humans' response came within minutes, far faster than any other species in recorded history. They didn't just acknowledge the transmission, they sent back a modified version of the mathematical sequence that somehow used 30% less data while conveying the same information. They improved our compression algorithm, Nexus 8 noted, genuine surprise in its synthetic voice. A formula that took our best minds centuries to perfect, and they just made it better. Without even understanding our full language. The first face-to-face meeting was arranged within Earth's solar system, at a human space station that looked like it had been assembled from spare parts, because it had been. As Zyraval's shuttle docked with the station, her sensors revealed more impossibilities. The station's hull was reinforced with a material that shouldn't have been stable, yet somehow was. Their life support system violated 3 different laws of thermodynamics but worked better than Confederate systems. The human delegation that greeted them was led by Dr. Sarah Chen, a quantum physicist who seemed more excited about meeting aliens than concerned about first contact protocols. Your transmission compression method was fascinating, were her first words, not even waiting for the universal translator to finish calibrating. We've already adapted it for our ground-based internet. Speeds are up 40% globally. Zyraval's crystalline structure flickered in confusion. You implemented a completely alien technology across your global network in less than 6 hours. Oh, yes, Dr. Chen nodded enthusiastically. Once we understood the basic principles, scaling it up was pretty straightforward. We had to make some modifications to work with our existing infrastructure, of course. Actually improved the efficiency a bit in the process. Would you like to see how we did it? As Dr. Chen pulled up schematics on a tablet that was clearly held together with what humans called duct tape, Unravel realized that her mission had just become far more complex than a simple observation. The humans weren't just breaking the laws of physics, they were casually rewriting them, using solutions that should never have worked. The Confederation needed to understand how these beings thought, how they approached problems in ways that defied convention and somehow succeeded. But as she watched Dr. Chen excitedly explain how they had jury-rigged, faster-than-light communication using modified cell phone towers and something called a microwave oven, Unravel wondered if understanding humans might be the greatest impossibility of all.